Sorry. Get this pulled up. Hello, my name is Brianna Embrey-Banks, and today I'm going to tell you guys my idea for owning my blackness, also known as OMB. So, what exactly is OMB? OMB actually is currently a running organization that is housed at York College of Pennsylvania, and with a baby branch coming back actually to York Suburban Senior High School. We are an organization that works to educate, advocate, and elevate for Black students. We serve as a mentorship group that has college students mentoring students in the K through 12 level. We function within different committees, such as the marketing committee, we have a scholarship committee, programming committee, and fundraising. They focus different things like running our social media and promoting that way. We also have a community outreach, which handles our mentorship program with the high school and also any community work that we might do, whether that be working with local businesses or teaming up with our fundraising committee to run fundraisers within the community. Programming handles programs that you may have already seen at your college's campus. For example, our biggest one we do every year is Blackout for Black Lives, which is a program that teaches about the Black Lives Matter movement through kind of art, kind of your stereotypical like history PowerPoints, as well as music, personal stories, poetry, whatever you can think of. Essentially, we tend to grow it every single year. So that is what currently OMB stands at. It serves as almost a school club at the moment at your college, and I'm looking to take it to the next level. So what everybody knows is OMB today. I want to eventually turn it into a nonprofit that continues the work that we're doing now of promoting student empowerment and linking K through 12 and higher education students. But for the sake of this presentation and for my entry here to hopefully win the funding, I'm going to focus on the next step of OMB, which I'm looking to do is to add on a for-profit piece. This will focus on advocacy and working with educators to reduce systematic racism within education. And this would be considered OMB Consulting, which is also in the market of DEI, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Consulting, if you've ever heard of it. So what is the problem we're trying to solve? As I mentioned before, we're looking to reduce systematic racism within education. For those who don't know, this right here I have graphs representing the racial achievement gap. The racial achievement gap essentially compares different races of students on considering things like SAT scores, GPA scores, and graduation rates. Both at the nationwide and local level, you can find that African American students, when compared to any other race of students, fall behind in every single category, whether that is SAT scores, GPA scores, or graduation rates. As you can see here, I provided a few examples from College Board. So this are, of course, SAT scores. This one here that talks about the total group, this is for everyone in the nation who has taken the SAT score in 2018, broken down by race. So you can kind of look down the scores here, the breakdown of races, and as you can compare here, it tells you the test takers and the means of their scores, and you can kind of see some of that breakdown that I was talking about. This other graph over here, you can actually see the breakdown for Pennsylvania, which again, you can kind of see that continuing on theme that I said before, that our African American students are falling behind when compared to any other race of students. Here. This is not only a K through 12 issue, since we know mostly since mostly high schoolers take the SATs. This is our SAT scores of our undergraduates coming to York College, as an example, to kind of show you the college level. Obviously, I'm trying to figure out how I could shrink myself here so you guys can see some more of these numbers. But this also gives you the breakdown at York College of SAT scores by race. And as you can kind of see here, African American students are kind of making up most of these lower or average number of scores, where our white students are mainly making up and these higher end scores, higher end and average SAT scores. This is just another example here of GPA of college students and they're broken down by race. Again, you can see that continuing trend that our African American students are making up mostly these lower end GPAs and white students are making up the higher end. The reasoning behind this, and the research that I have found on this topic, is not necessarily that African American or Black students are not as intelligent as other races of students, but it comes all the way back to things in history such as slavery, desegregation, the effects of Brown v. Board and the desegregation of schools, the quality of education, and this thing known as the generational knowledge gap, which is essentially similar to the generational wealth gap, where wealth and financial needs can be passed on from generation to generation. Knowledge is also passed on from generation to generation. So things that the African American community has suffered, especially within the thing of education that we've seen in the past, like I said before, like discrimination, the quality of education they were offered at times, especially during times like Plessy versus Ferguson, with equal but separate but equal. It still plays a role today, and we're still seeing those effects, as you can see within things like GPA scores, SAT scores, and graduation rates. So, for this consulting business, who's the target audience? So, as I said before, the piece of Owning My Blackness that I'm looking to launch in the near future would be the for-profit piece of consulting. So the target audience of Owning My Blackness Consulting would be educators, anybody who works with students to help shrink the idea of systematic racism. So the opportunity for this market, as you can see here from Globe News Wire Global, the global market for diversity and inclusion, also known as DEI, is estimated in the U.S. for $7.5 billion in the year of 2020 and is projected to reach a revised size as $15.4 billion by 2026, growing at the rate of 12.6% over the analysis period. Also, things to consider is that Forbes said that companies across the nation are now putting a priority on DEI, but many don't actually live up to the statements that they put out for their companies. As well as within education in particular, there has been a high focus around it ever since the George Floyd murder in 2020. It's become a hot topic within the classroom, and also becoming more and more of importance to campuses and schools across the nation. So some kind of local examples to put on that we can see that it is becoming a more and more of an issue and a concern. Recently in the high school level, Central York High School, there was a book ban that led to protest from the students encouraging that authors of color are allowed within their schools and to stop the ban of books. We've also seen recently at York College that there was a protest after a racial video of a student saying the N-word on a rock cross, and really wanting the enforce of policy and changes within education. So, solution. My solution is that we continue to include students in these conversations. They have a voice. They're the ones experiencing it now, and I think that they should continue to have a say, which would help within my work with OMB as we continue this mentorship program and we ask students, what is the issue? What are things that you see are wrong? We can include their thoughts and ideas into setting up a safe space at these educational institutions. So what I mean by setting up a safe space is exactly what OMB Consulting would do. Work with educators to create policy changes, as well as training their educators in these topics so they know some of this historical background, they know how to handle these types of situations, and they know what we can do to make real change within these institutions. And again, longevity. A lot of times when people talk about DEI, they come up with the quick, fast solution. that doesn't seem to last very long. For example, like a statement. A statement can't do much if you don't actually have an action plan in progress. So I would work with schools to continue on building those kind of practices and such. For example, some work that I've already done in the past is I've actually worked with York College of Pennsylvania, where I've held diversity and empathy trainings for residence life, where that was also instituted. That actually led to an opportunity to work with student conduct and help redo their trainings, which we see, so we can work on, again, that disciplinary gap, which is a link to the racial achievement gap, which also just essentially says that African American students face disciplinary actions more than any other racial group of students. So that was pretty exciting. I also was given an opportunity to work with York Suburban Senior High School to help with rewriting their policies on plagiarism, and to make sure that the writing and the policy wouldn't end up harming their students of colors in the future. So those are examples of kind of the work that we're looking to do, the longevity of it. So looking at the business model, what is needed to start up this consulting firm for owning my Blackness? I would be looking to use the funds to get my LLC, my trademark, and to set up a business account. Kind of those really essential things for starting a business, as well as materials that I'll particularly need, and a business that works more for service rather than a product of selling would be in the purchase of a Zoom plan. Oftentimes the groups of students that I work with, both for the current running organization of Owning My Blackness, as well as for the work that I've started to do in the consulting purpose, Zoom is often used for meetings within the students, meetings within potential business partners within the education field, meeting with principals, superintendents. So that would be a necessity. An office space, again, I held lots and lots of meetings, especially with the current Own My Blackness currently being housed at York College. I'd be looking to purchase a space within them that they currently offer for alumni. I'll bring the breakdown of that a little bit later. I would be looking to get a website up and build that be used to market the consulting and also provide more information as people continue to look it up and as we continue to grow by word of mouth. I also put here, which kind of seems like maybe an odd thing to ask, I'd look to purchase an iPhone. I'm currently using Android products. As you can currently see, probably right now, my camera quality is not the best. And I often find when I go into these spaces and I do this work, I often have to ask someone with an iPhone to kind of take pictures or record video for me to kind of get that high quality. So I'd be looking to just purchase one of my own to be able to use to continue to grow this business. As well as a Tappy card. It is a digital form of a business card. Actually, when you tap devices, you can actually get everything of all the social media sites, all the websites, linked to your business, compared to handing out paper cards, which often get lost. So how will OMB sell? How will OMB Consulting start to grow as a business? So obviously the use of a website and the spreading and marketing through social media, but as well as reaching out, just actually approaching people who work in the education field, pitching my idea, seeing where it goes. How OMB actually got involved with our first high school, which was actually York Suburban Senior High School, was just me simply shooting an email to the principal and asking for 5 minutes to pitch my idea to them. And they ended up liking so much they were the first high school we were able to work with. So I'd continue to do that. And word of mouth. I've actually mentored a group at Susquehannock High School because their parents actually had heard of the work that I had done and was impressed enough that they wanted to join me in on their student advocacy and the works that they were doing. I've also just recently worked with the upcoming charter school in York County known as Masters Academy, where once again, they've heard of my work by word of mouth and hired me on to do research. And as well as if they end up getting approved to actually get the school up and running, they would have me do the trainings for all of their staff members on diversity and empathy. So how will OMB Consulting make money? So the things that we particularly sell within the service plan is research, public speaking, trainings, and consulting itself. So, example, the research for Master's Academy, I was able to pull lots and lots of data, kind of like snippets that I showed you today, things like the racial achievement gap, the racial disciplinary gap, the summer learning loss, kind of those theories as well to back it up. But I also do custom research trainings and presentations for every group that I work with. So, for example, for Masters Academy, the community that they were serving was within York City. So I also pulled local data within the York City on how this work will affect them. Within public speaking, I've continued to do multiple ones at York College where I've essentially spoken on these topics, as well as different conferences such as the NASPA Multicultural Institute, as well as the 2022 DEI Summit. So those are kind of examples of speaking events that I would do. For trainings, I do diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings within OMB Consulting. So these will be the prices of those trainings. And then consulting. Consulting is essentially giving my advice on different practices you can do, as well as helping with rewriting of policies or ideas for that. And these will be the price breakdowns of each of those. These prices were came up with after doing research into what are the average numbers within the market for diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting. So who would be the competition in this area? So there's Natural Inclination, LLC, ran by Dr. Embrey-Banks. One of the nice things I'd say, at least for me as somebody upcoming into this market, I actually had the time to sit down, the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Summons. Oh my goodness, please forgive me as I struggle to speak today. And she was actually very welcoming, very understanding, and me as a young entrepreneur trying to get off my feet, and gave me a lot of good advice. She actually helped me getting the idea of how to set my prices as an upcoming business member. So I think that's really nice for the competition's sake, to already be forming relationships with people within the same field, because we can help each other grow. Maybe there's some things that I specialize in that she may not. For example, like FIC, Human Resource Partners, they do focus in DEI consulting, but it's mostly for businesses. And I'm really heavily within education. And Dr. Simmons also focuses with DEI and education, but I have a focus in particular with African American students. Cultural Alliance, a nonprofit in York County, also offers DEI trainings, but they serve more as a nonprofit, so they might not have as much of the skill levels that I'm able to offer. So OMB's angle. I am a local York native, grew up actually went through York's Urban School District, attended York College of Pennsylvania. So I have kind of the niche of the issues within the area. And I focus on Black students within OMB Consulting. Again, why? Because they're the students mainly at risk when you kind of break down the research within the DEI community. Diversity, equity, inclusion is a huge umbrella that focuses on many different things within race, sexuality, gender. So really having a hyper focus point, while having to be able to provide more details, more ideas, more research that will be able to make real change for these students. Another angle that I have is that I'm in the process right now getting a master's degree in diversity, equity, inclusion at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, online. This is a really good niche because DEI is a growing market, and not many people within the field actually have a degree in it. Most people running in the field right now currently run off of personal experiences, which is great, but having that title, the education behind it, will really kind of help me stand out from the competition. And again, I do custom work. So each group I work with, I have an beginner's meeting with them, I would say. Can't think of the word right now. Introductory meeting, where I kind of get an idea of who is their exact audience, the population that they continue to work with, but then their education field, who is the area they circulate, so that when I put this work together for them, it is really custom to them, because as we find within this work, it's not always one shoe fits all. So this is Owning My Blackness, again, an organization that works to educate, advocate, and elevate for Black students. I am looking to launch Owning My Blackness Consulting, and the funding for this would really help make a difference between the student groups that we really work with, essentially. I know I gave you the price down that I'm looking to use out of the $5,000 right away, about $2,000 of it to kind of get the launch of Owning My Blackness Consulting. The rest of the additional funds would be used kind of as a safety net for any unexpected funds that were not calculated for, as well as eventually in the launch of Owning My Blackness nonprofit. Once I do a little more research into the nonprofit area and I'm ready to really get that off of its feet and take it out of a school club setting. So that's what the funding would be used for. Again, as Owning My Blackness, we've only been an idea for 2 years. I actually launched the idea for Owning My Blackness in 2020, and we were eventually full on running in 2021. Since then, for the work that I've done with OMB, I've won an award with the Mid-Atlantic Association for Housing, a Social Justice Award, which is a regional award. I was asked to speak at multiple conferences at both the state and national level for this work, and we're just continuing to grow faster and faster, and this would really help kind of take this work to the next level. Say thank you, and these are our social media, and you can also find our current website for Owning My Blackness. Thank you.